There was a young man named Daniel who believed success had a certain look. He believed success was something people could see. A car that turned heads when it passed. Clothes that carried expensive logos. Dinner tables filled with laughter and photographs. In Daniel's mind, success was not quiet. It was visible. And in today's world, visibility often feels like victory. Daniel had recently begun earning decent money. Not extraordinary money, but enough that his life could have become stable, even peaceful. But Daniel did not want peace. He wanted admiration. The first purchase came quickly. A car. Not because the old one was broken, not because he needed it for work, but because when he parked it outside a restaurant, people would notice. And they did. Friends gathered around it. Someone took a picture. Someone whistled. Someone said, "You're doing well, man." Daniel smiled. That sentence stayed with him all night. You're doing well. Soon after the car came the clothes. Then the watches, then the expensive dinners. It wasn't that Daniel loved these things. What he loved was the reaction they created. The raised eyebrows, the approving nods, the compliments. On social media, Daniel's life looked impressive. Photos of restaurants, photos of weekend trips, photos of the car gleaming under city lights. Comments appeared quickly. Living the dream. Bro, you made it. You're winning in life. Daniel would read those comments again and again, and each time he felt the same warm feeling, pride. But pride can be very expensive, because behind those photos was a different story. Daniel's savings barely existed. His credit cards were growing. Each month, the bills felt a little heavier, but something inside him refused to slow down, because slowing down would mean admitting something uncomfortable. The life he was showing people was not the life he was living. One evening, Daniel sat in his car outside a restaurant he could barely afford. Inside, people were laughing and celebrating. He looked at his phone. Another photo from earlier that week had gained hundreds of likes. For a moment, he felt proud again. Then the waiter brought the bill, and pride turned into pressure. A few days later, Daniel found himself walking through the older part of town. There was a small bookshop there. It had been there longer than most of the buildings around it. Daniel had passed it many times, but had never entered. That afternoon, for reasons he could not fully explain, he stepped inside. The shop was quiet. Dust floated softly through warm light coming from the windows. Books lined the walls from floor to ceiling. Behind the counter sat an older man reading. He looked up as Daniel entered. "You seem tired," the man said calmly. Daniel forced a small smile. "I'm fine." The elder nodded slowly. "Most people who say they are fine come here when they are not." Daniel laughed awkwardly. "I just came to look around." The elder closed his book. Looking is often the first step to understanding. Daniel walked slowly through the aisles. Books about philosophy, books about history, books about lives that had unfolded long before Daniel was born. Eventually, he returned to the counter. The elder studied him for a moment. Then he asked a question. "Tell me," he said gently, "who are you trying to impress?" Daniel blinked. "No one." The elder smiled softly. "That is rarely true." Daniel leaned against the counter. "It's not about impressing people," he said. "It's just life. Everyone is doing things. Everyone is moving forward." The elder nodded. "And forward must be visible?" Daniel hesitated. "I guess so." The elder stood and walked to a nearby shelf. He pulled out a thin book and placed it on the counter. "Many people spend their lives trying to look rich," he said. Daniel frowned. "What's wrong with wanting success?" "Nothing," the elder replied. "But wanting to look successful is a different thing entirely." Daniel crossed his arms. "What's the difference?" The elder leaned slightly closer. "When you try to look rich, your money moves outward." He began counting softly on his fingers. Clothes, cars, restaurants, attention. But when someone focuses on becoming wealthy, he tapped the book lightly, their money moves inward, into patience, into investments, into discipline. Daniel stared at the counter. The elder continued, "There was once a man in this town," he said quietly. "People believed he was poor because he dressed simply and lived quietly." Daniel looked up. But over time, something interesting happened. "What?" Daniel asked. "The people who tried hardest to look rich slowly became trapped." Trapped? By the things they bought, by the lives they had to maintain, by the attention they could no longer live without. The elder paused. "And the quiet man?" Daniel leaned forward slightly. "He became free." Silence settled between them. Daniel thought about the car, the dinners, the comments online, the quiet pressure that followed every purchase. The elder finally spoke again. "Looking rich attracts attention," he paused. "But being rich attracts freedom." Daniel left the shop that afternoon with a strange feeling. Not shame, not regret. Something deeper. Clarity. That evening, he sat in his apartment and looked around. The clothes, the watch, the expensive shoes. For the first time, he saw them differently. They were not symbols of success. They were symbols of performance, and performance requires an audience. Over the next few months, Daniel began changing small things. He stopped chasing attention. He stopped trying to impress people who barely knew him. He stopped posting every detail of his life. Some friends noticed. "Where have you been? You disappeared." Daniel would smile and say very little. He was not disappearing. He was simply becoming quieter. The car was sold. The dinners became simpler. The money he once spent on appearances slowly began building something else. Stability. And over time, Daniel discovered something surprising. The quieter his life became, the stronger it felt. Many people spend their lives trying to look successful, but real success rarely makes noise. It grows slowly, quietly, just like wisdom. If this story spoke to you, subscribe to Old Wisdom for more timeless lessons about life, choices, and quiet strength. And remember, some people chase attention, others build freedom. Choose wisely.